On June 14, 2025, Dr. Ngozi Orabueze, the Deputy Prime Minister of the United States of Biafra, USB, reveals that members of the indigenous people of Biafra in Germany have officially opened a diplomatic office in the city of Bremen, Germany. She confirms the opening of Biafran embassy in Germany and shares footage from the event showing the building, its surroundings, and the celebratory mood. The Bremen office is said to be located in a strategic and beautiful location near a train or tram station and decorated with official-looking signs, phone numbers, and Biafran flags. Biafran leaders were reportedly present at the inauguration, adding symbolic significance to the opening of the office. Alongside the Germany opening, another Biafran embassy was previously opened on May 30, 2025 in Washington, D.C., United States of America, during the Biafra Memorial Day and Peace Summit. The Washington, D.C. office is described in detail, showcasing a clean, well-furnished interior, including a reception area and kitchen, which Biafran supporters proudly refers to as impeccable and beautiful. Also, Biafrans and supporters of freedom had a solidarity protest carried out by Biafra supporters in Europe, demanding the unconditional release of the detained Biafran leader Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and Mazi Simon Ekpa. Participants in the protest were seen carrying signs and chanting, calling for freedom and justice, while also reaffirming their support for the Biafran movement. On the morning of June 14, 2025, the atmosphere across the Biafran online community changed in a very emotional and historic way. The news that came out was one that many Biafrans, especially those in the diaspora, had waited for with hope and quiet prayers for many years. Dr. Ngozi Orabueze, who holds the office of Deputy Prime Minister of the United States of Biafra, addressed the people with a tone of pride and victory. In her voice, one could hear not only the formality of a government official, but also the warmth of a mother speaking to her children about something they had all worked for together. Her announcement confirmed that a new chapter had officially opened in the long journey toward Biafran self-determination. She said that on that very day, June 14, 2025, the indigenous people of Biafra had opened an official Biafran embassy in the city of Bremen in Germany. Dr. Ngozi Orabueze shared a video of the building where this new Biafran diplomatic mission is now located. As the footage played, emotions began to stir among those watching, particularly among the Biafran diaspora across Europe, America, and beyond. The video showed a well-maintained building in what appeared to be a busy part of the city. There was the noise of trams and people in the background, and yet there was something sacred about the space in front of that building. The Biafran flags waved gently in the summer breeze, and the signs posted near the entrance gave the impression of an official diplomatic structure. According to those who were on the ground in Bremen, the building was located close to a major tram or train station, making it easily accessible for both visitors and Biafran officials. The opening of this embassy was not just a casual event or a symbolic gesture. It carried a strong and intentional message to the world, and particularly to the Nigerian government. It said that the Biafran people were no longer just protesting in the streets or crying into the void. They were organizing, they were formalizing, and they were creating lasting institutions that would one day take their place among the recognized governments of the world. For many who had followed the struggle over the decades, seeing a physical embassy with phone numbers, offices, and the red, black, and green Biafran flags brought tears to their eyes. According to Dr. Ngozi Orabueze, this embassy in Bremen was opened with the participation and blessings of Biafran leaders. This includes members of the Biafran transitional government, diplomatic personnel, and representatives of the indigenous people of Biafra living in Germany. The crowd that gathered was not just a group of curious onlookers. These were people who had dedicated their lives, time, and even their personal safety to the fight for Biafran independence. Some of them had been present during earlier protests in Berlin. Others had traveled from different German cities and even other European countries just to witness the historic occasion. From the decorations and setup of the Bremen embassy, it was clear that the organizers had taken their time to ensure everything was in order. There were signs with contact details, the flags were clean and new, and the inside of the building, although not entirely shown in the video, was said to be well furnished and ready to receive visitors. What impressed many was the professionalism with which everything was handled. There were no signs of disorder or confusion. Instead, what was seen was a coordinated effort, a structured opening, and the presence of high-ranking Biafran officials who addressed the audience and reaffirmed their commitment to the movement. The opening of the Bremen embassy came just 2 weeks after another significant event that had taken place in the United States of America. On May 30th, 2025, during the Biafra Memorial Day and Peace Summit, the Biafran leadership in America had also opened an official diplomatic office in the capital city of Washington, District of Columbia. That event had equally marked a major turning point. It showed that the Biafran movement was expanding not only in spirit, but in physical presence as well. The Washington office, according to many who visited it, was described as clean, well-organized, and beautiful. It had a functional reception area where visitors could be welcomed, a kitchen where meals could be prepared or served during long meetings, and a space where planning could take place in comfort. These openings were not isolated incidents. They were part of a larger, deliberate effort by the government of the United States of Biafra and its supporters around the world to create lasting structures for diplomacy, dialogue, and representation. It was an effort to break out of the idea that Biafrans are only visible during protests or online arguments. Instead, these embassies stand as physical evidence that the Biafran people are building a government, building a nation, and preparing themselves to be responsible participants in the international community. In a related development, on the same day that the Bremen embassy was opened, Biafrans and other freedom fighters organized a powerful solidarity protest across several European cities. This protest was not just about celebration. It was also a reminder that even though the diplomatic offices were being opened, the struggle for justice and freedom was still ongoing. In particular, the protest focused on demanding the unconditional release of two important figures in the Biafran movement, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and Mazi Simon Njoku Ekpa. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, has been detained by the Nigerian government since he was captured and brought back to Nigeria under controversial circumstances. His health condition has reportedly worsened over the years, and many Biafrans believe he is being denied basic rights and medical care while in custody. Mazi Simon Njoku Ekpa, a former athlete turned political activist and Prime Minister of the Biafran government in exile, has also been under intense legal pressure in Finland. Even though he is not currently under physical arrest, he is facing ongoing legal attacks which Biafran supporters say are politically motivated and designed to silence him. The European protests that took place on June 14, 2025 were focused, peaceful and powerful. In cities such as Berlin, Paris, Brussels and Amsterdam, Biafrans gathered in large numbers, carrying placards and chanting for justice. Many of the signs read phrases like "Free Mazi Nnamdi Kanu now," Release Simon Njoku Ekpa, and Biafra is our right. Some supporters wore traditional Biafran clothing, others wore European suits, but they were united in one message: Biafra must be free, and its leaders must be released. In Bremen, some of the protesters joined in after attending the embassy opening. Others came straight from different German cities, using buses, cars and public transport to be part of the historic dual event, celebrating the embassy and demanding freedom. According to Dr. Ngozi Orabueze, these two things were connected. She explained that the embassies were not just buildings for decoration, they were tools of advocacy, places where international diplomacy could take place, and centers where the voices of oppressed Biafrans could be heard more clearly by the global community. As the day wore on, videos and photos of the events in Bremen began to circulate on social media. Young people posted videos on TikTok and Instagram. Older supporters shared updates on Facebook and WhatsApp, and Biafran television channels streamed interviews and scenes from the opening. A particular video clip stood out. It showed an elderly man, possibly in his 70s, wiping tears from his eyes as he stood in front of the Biafran embassy in Bremen. He did not speak, but his emotion told a story. This was a man who had lived through the Nigerian Civil War, who had witnessed the killing of millions, and who had seen the Biafran flag banned, ridiculed, and treated as an illegal symbol. Now, he stood in front of that flag, not in the bush or in hiding, but outside a publicly recognized building in the middle of a major European city. The emotional reaction of that elderly man was echoed by many others. Some were reminded of the sacrifices that had been made, of family members who died in the war, of fathers who never came home, of mothers who starved during the blockade. Others were filled with pride that their efforts, whether through donations, awareness or activism, were beginning to bear fruit. For the younger generation, who had never seen a time when Biafra had a physical presence in international cities, this moment became a turning point. For them, Biafra was no longer just a dream. It was becoming real, one embassy at a time. It is important to note that the opening of these embassies did not mean that Biafra was now officially recognized by the governments of Germany or the United States of America. That recognition still remains a long and complicated process involving diplomatic negotiations, legal frameworks, and international politics. However, what it does show is that the Biafran movement has taken an important step forward. No longer satisfied with symbolic protests, the movement is now building the infrastructure of a nation: embassies, media networks, diplomatic strategies, and community structures. Dr. Ngozi Orabueze made it clear that these efforts would continue. She encouraged Biafrans in other countries to begin organizing toward opening more diplomatic offices. She said that the government of the United States of Biafra was already in discussions with communities in Canada, South Africa, and Australia to open similar embassies in those regions. The aim, according to her, is to create a global Biafran presence, not one of war or conflict, but of peace, justice, and human dignity. As evening fell on June 14, 2025, the lights in the new Biafran embassy in Bremen remained on. Inside, Biafran representatives held a small dinner with guests and supporters. There was laughter, quiet speeches, and the sharing of traditional Biafran food. Some of the elders who attended said it reminded them of the old days before the war, when hope filled the air and unity was the spirit of the people. For the young people who came to volunteer, it was a lesson in history and a charge for the future. This embassy, like the one in Washington District of Columbia, is not just about politics. It is about people. It is about giving identity to a group that has long been denied its right to exist with dignity. It is about creating a space where the name Biafra is not whispered in fear, but spoken in confidence and peace. And above all, it is about the journey from invisibility to visibility, from being ignored to being seen, from being rejected to being welcomed. Even if only by each other for now. What Dr. Ngozi Orabueze and her team have done is not only brave but visionary. By opening these embassies, they are showing the world what it means to build a nation from the ground up. They are saying that even without tanks or money or global recognition, a people can rise, a people can organize, and a people can dream and make those dreams come true. And so, as the flags fluttered in Bremen, as the doors opened in Washington, and as chants filled the streets of Europe demanding justice for Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and Mazi Simon Njoku Ekpa, a quiet but powerful message was sent across the world. Biafra is not dead. Biafra is not defeated. Biafra is alive. It is building, and it is coming. Not through violence, not through destruction, but through diplomacy, community, and unwavering hope. On that day, as the early summer sunlight caressed the red brick facades of Bremen's historic buildings, a palpable excitement spread through the streets. Locals and visitors alike found themselves pausing in their daily routines to absorb the significance of the moment. It was a day that transcended the ordinary, for it marked a convergence of history, hope, and the relentless pursuit of justice by a community determined to reclaim its narrative. The new diplomatic office, adorned in the dignified colors of the Biafran flag and situated in a vibrant part of Bremen that pulsed with both modernity and tradition, was not just a building, it was a beacon of liberation and identity. As the ceremony commenced, Dr. Ngozi Orabueze stood before a gathering composed of dignitaries, elders, activists, and everyday citizens whose eyes shone with optimism and resolve. Dr. Ngozi Orabueze, with a voice both firm and tender, recounted the long journey that had led to this historic unveiling. She spoke of dreams that had been nurtured through years of struggle, of sacrifices made by countless men and women who had dedicated their lives to the cause of Biafran self-determination. Every word she uttered resonated with the memory of a past filled with both sorrow and perseverance. Listeners found themselves immersed in a narrative that recalled the tragic chapters of history, while simultaneously looking forward to a future laden with the promise of recognition and respect. In the days leading up to the event, communities in Bremen and beyond had organized themselves with extraordinary dedication. Volunteers from various Biafran associations across Germany worked tirelessly to ensure that the embassy's inauguration would not only be a political milestone, but also a cultural celebration of heritage and resilience. These efforts were carried out in the spirit of unity. They blended modern organizational techniques with time-honored traditions that had been passed down through generations. In the background, the gentle hum of trams and the lively chatter of the city created an almost poetic counterpoint to the solemnity of the occasion. People familiar with the history of Biafra recalled the dark times when the Biafran cause was met with resistance, misunderstanding, and even outright hostility by those in positions of power. Yet, in that moment, all of that gave way to a vision of an empowered future. A future where Biafran culture was celebrated in cities as cosmopolitan as Bremen, where the voices of the people could resonate beyond the confines of long-forgotten borders. Footage of the event revealed not only the external grandeur of the building, but also glimpses of intimate moments that captured the hearts of those who watched. In one clip, a young woman in traditional attire softly brushed away tears as she clutched a small flag, a symbol of both her personal history and the collective memory of a people who had endured so much. This visual testimony was a powerful reminder that the opening of the embassy was more than a mere bureaucratic occurrence. It was an affirmation of a legacy steeped in both hardship and triumph. Beyond the immediate atmosphere in Bremen, the ripple effects of this announcement were felt across the Biafran diaspora around the globe.
Thank you so much.
This is the head office. This is the IPOB headquarter office in Bremen, and it's officially launched today, inaugurated by the HOD. So HOD has gone into where the session is, so we'll be heading there now. So probably you can see it's very beautiful, very beautiful. The location is awesome. The location is awesome. Look at it. IPOB and our European rep is here as well. A few other people. So let me just. Is it locked? Is it locked? Is it locked? Okay, it's locked. It's locked now. So this is the way it looks, and this is the phone numbers in case if you are looking to contact. This is also the barcode, and you can see it here. IPOB and Hezorezo. I am not managing. Only going to kill our bachelor. This is not going to make every. Yeah, okay. Okay. European rep here, so on the home she got today. So this is very, very lovely, very, very beautiful. Look at the location. They are here, just in front of train station or tram, if you like, tram. So this is it. So we'll be going to the session and we'll see you there in a few minutes.
Alright, great Biafrans, I'm going to walk you through our beautiful Washington DC office, right? You can see that, right? Yes. The grand opening, the Biafra Mission, Washington DC, May 30th, Memorial Day and Peace Summit in the United States of America. Let me move you into this office. You can see it. Beautiful. We already got it celebrating basically all the items, some of the videos that is going to be sold tomorrow. Great job. Already got everything fixed. Some United States Foreign Affairs Director had you can see all the beautiful. This is the Secretary of State, United States of Biafra. And this is DPM, His Excellency Simon Eber. I got a beautiful, beautiful set right here. I'm gonna move to a beautiful kitchen over there. Beautiful, beautiful kitchen. You can see everything spectacular, impeccable. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna see a reception area for the United States office. Reception area, very beautiful. You can see how beautiful they are ready. You can see our onion going up the camera. Prime Minister. Still trying to get things ready. Ready for tomorrow. It's gonna be a big day tomorrow. Do not miss out. We're ready. Are you? We are ready. Family, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Everybody ready?
Yeah.
Yep. We're ready. See you tomorrow.
And we are not afraid of anybody.
This is the end of our news update. Please click the icon on the top right corner of your screen to watch my next video. You will enjoy it. I will see you again in my next update. Enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye for now.